Hello all. Today we are taking a short tour through the rise of Indian writing in English with a special focus on the early Indian English women poets. So at first we would learn about what is Indian writing in English and what specially is the reason for the rise of this new idiom, how it begins with a colonial encounter with the British English, which was an exchange between two cultures, language, literature, sensibilities, and how the formal English education was started by the colonial conquerors and the formal education institutions to teach and impart the knowledge of English was set up, and later on how this was later on how this became a part of the literary renaissance in India in the 19th century. So, in the beginning, we have the early Indian English writers, and especially when we are focusing on female writers, writers like Toru Dutt and Sarojini Naidu. Toru Dutt was an early Indian English woman poet who was also very well versed in French, and we have so many works by her. But most of her writing was much more closer to the British tongue, both in form as well as in structuration and portrayal. In the case of uh, Sarojini Naidu, she was also a freedom fighter. So many of her uh, poems had an element of patriotic zeal and fervor, but again the language was much encoded in the formal aspects of English. When we come later to a writer like Kamala Das, who also wrote stories in Malayalam and was a dedicated columnist in English too, we find a very different kind of English, a very different kind of sensibility to begin with, because she can also be seen as a first female voice who spoke about very candidly and honestly in um, in a very unapologetic manner about the patriarchal oppression, the patriarchal standpoints, and about a female caught in between all of this, her dilemmas, her frustrations, her anguishes, her doubts, her aspirations, her feelings, her desires. And we have a poem in our syllabus, an introduction, which can be read as the first feminist voice of poetry in Indian writing in English in the post independence era. So let us begin on that journey.